So the Justice Department, as we outlined, reportedly now weighing some perjury charges against former FBI Director James Comey. We've got a Tuesday deadline here. How do you see this playing out?
I think this is all about accountability. Look, this individual probably did more damage to the United States than anyone I can think of in recent decades, other than Osama bin Laden. We were in a tailspin of an investigation, all based on false information, and James Comey knew that it was false information, and yet he leaked documents in order to spur a special counsel investigation. He and then came forward to Congress multiple times and lied. And so I think that it's time for the American people to look back and reflect on this. And I think the Durham report strongly worded the fact that there was no reason for them to begin the investigation, and that they absolutely knew at that time that the Russiagate documents were bogus. So we basically had someone that orchestrated, or people that worked on a coup to stop a duly elected individual from becoming president.
Well, I want to ask you about this as well. As you know, there is pushback from many who are concerned with the president speaking out so vocally about these investigations, these potential upcoming cases, that it's tipping the scales of power to the executive branch. What are your thoughts on some of those critiques and some of the concerns that folks have about that?
I think this is putting things right. This country is not supposed to be led by a deep state that wants to determine who is going to be the president. The executive powers are defined in the Constitution, and this president, I think, is doing the right job in holding people accountable who were not following the law. And I think it's abundantly clear that James Comey was involved in an effort to try to unseat a properly elected president of the United States. And so the question is, does this president let this go so that it continues to happen again, or do we correct it and then we can move on and in a more healthy environment as a country?
Well, we will anticipate, we'll be looking into any evidence brought forward, of course, on this one. I wanted to ask you also about this growing risk of a government shutdown now. I know you're intent on reining in spending. You'd like to see a balanced budget. That's a noble goal. Some on the other side, though, are making the argument that the strategy means some deep cuts that put the burden squarely on low and middle income families while preserving tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy. What is your counter to some of those claims?
Well, regarding the tax cuts, the bill that was passed is probably the biggest tax cut to the middle class that we've ever passed in the United States history. It was specifically designed to target working class Americans, people that are making most of their income on tips or getting retirement income, low wage workers. And so to say that this was all to benefit the rich is ridiculous. On the discussion about our expenditures, look, we've spent way too much money. We went into COVID and we have, as you know, we blew up the deficits during COVID, and we are still at COVID spending levels. So it's not sustainable, and it's only proper that we return to the size that the United States government was at the trajectory that it was prior to COVID. It's just a reasonable ask.
Well, a lot of conversations happening now behind closed doors, working to avoid this shutdown. We'll keep tabs on it, of course. Congressman Eric Burlison, thank you very much for joining us this morning.